Welcome to today's episode of the Capstone Conversation. I am your host, Jared Asch, and today I am joined by Mayor Juan Gonzalez from San Leandro and Economic Development Manager Katie Bowman. Thank you both for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We are doing this one in person where the city of San Leandro has this really cool studio setup, and we have a lot of bright lights and microphones and a whole crew of staff here. Shout out to the staff of the city of San Leandro helping to organize this. One of the things I want to talk about in San Leandro today is economic development in particular, because this city is changing rapidly. And it's been a priority of yours, Mr. Mayor, to really focus on economic development. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what are your goals for growing? What is your vision for the city in the future related to economic development?
When we think about economic development in San Leandro, we think particularly about our economic development strategy, which is focused on some pillars. One of the key pillars in our strategy is focusing on innovation and bringing innovative jobs to the city of San Leandro. We've had success in that arena. We also want San Leandro to be a destination location for folks to come and live and enjoy and play and be able to avail themselves excellent retail in the city. So it's not just on the job side, it's also on how people spend their time, spend their money, so that we know that on net, when the economy grows, that benefits our residents and their quality of life.
Hey, Katie, you want to talk a little bit maybe about that strategic vision?
Yes, in that 2024 economic development strategy, we, as the mayor mentioned, had multiple pillars and really four key actions that we've kicked off with. And so he mentioned supporting and attracting innovative companies, and in the clean tech sector, the food tech sector, the advanced manufacturing and biomedical, where we have a strategic advantage based on our facilities, based on our history. And we're working to proactively support those industries. We also have developed a plan to recruit retail, which I can speak about a little bit later, as well as kicking off a comprehensive brand assessment and marketing strategy to help continue to raise awareness. And finally, working to support our small businesses and entrepreneurs, as well as workforce development and connecting the service providers with our residents, with our businesses, to make sure that we get the services to grow and be strong.
And you think that because of our rich history in manufacturing, we have a particular advantage in advanced manufacturing, and we're leaning into that in the city of San Leandro.
I think that's important, and you identified those four pillars. Most cities just talk about wanting to do this or wanting to be a life science hub or, ooh, I want to attract AI businesses, but you actually narrowed down very specific companies. Do either one of you want to talk a little bit more about those focuses and how'd you get to that?
Yes, we did work with a specialist and did a really sector by sector evaluation of sectors, identifying where there was growth potential, what type of facilities they needed, what type of personnel they needed, as well as with our location and our workforce base. And in there, for instance, looking at biomedical, we have not historically targeted them for attraction. Some of the others we've worked a long time in advanced manufacturing, for instance, but in biomedical, the analysis showed that they were looking for similar spaces to what we have, and where they are currently, they're at a much higher rent and other things, and their location requirements wouldn't necessarily limit them to the areas that they currently are. And that's an area where there's opportunity that we hadn't previously worked to recruit, and working to build relationships in that sector, awareness, starting to get to know companies. What type of things are they looking for? What type of industry organizations do they have? Similar things that we use to help support our battery companies, for instance, that we're going to be beginning to focus on in the biomedical sector.
And you recently have one of the battery companies here got an award, right? Like a worldwide award.
Yeah, we're super proud of Coors Shell Technologies. In fact, we recognized them last night at City Council under the Mayor's Awards for Excellence. Coors Shell in particular has been just storming through the awards scene. East Bay Development Award, and then most recently the Pegasus Technology, the investment fund, held a worldwide competition, and they beat out over 10,000 companies in demonstrating powerful change in technology and their business model. We're particularly proud of Coreshell Technologies here in San Leandro.
And they're a great example of how we hope to support companies to grow over time. They started 4 or 5 years ago in a small space at the Gate 510, one of our centers, and continued to grow. They took the space next door. They took a space in a different part of the center. Then they moved to a different building and did a full build out. And now they're looking for additional space and additional power to begin production. That's what we're always looking to support and foster these companies to begin here, but also find once they're mature and ready to produce that there's a place for them here as well.
Along those lines, what are some of the other innovative companies that you've attracted recently here to San Leandro? Because you do have some new cool manufacturing in particular.
Another one that we just recently had a great chat with, Lighten, is a really fast growing, another battery company. And they are working internationally at this point. They are working they've purchased a number of assets in Europe for battery production, and they're working to roll out their technology through these facilities. And they began in San Jose, and they're looking to expand here in San Leandro for not just their research and development, but their pilot development, their pilot production, and looking to have their San Leandro location be what they call their Center for Excellence. And that would be a place where they would model new processes, new workforce. They're interested in workforce development, new practices related to that maybe could be used at other facilities across the U.S. or across the world. And they found that the ability to have those connections here was a great way for them to have that home base here and then begin here and really expand across the world.
I think there's powerful lessons to be taken from the Lighten expansion into San Leandro, because one of the things that we see when we interview CEOs about why were those decisions ultimately made, one of the key reasons is location. Our proximity to the Port of Oakland, including the airport. We're centrally located along 238, so we have access to the Central Valley quite easily at a kind of relatively lower traffic location. Our rents are quite affordable in the industrial part of our town here, so it really makes it easy for folks to come into our city and to avail themselves of those benefits. And I think that one other thing to remember is that when you have a team on the economic development side, on the planning side, that is easily accessible, we feel like we've got the benefits of being a larger city, but we still have that small town touch and charm. And we're able to work directly and offer like a concierge level service to help companies work through the process. And company after company that I've spoken to, the executives tell us, and that makes San Leandro an ideal choice.
Relationships matter in any form of business. I want to pick up on something else you had mentioned. That's been like a good incubator, bringing in companies, and it's very unique to this, particularly the East Bay, right? You get a lot of that in the city. Talk a little bit about that and how that's played a role in economic development.
The Gate 510 is really a success story, a driver for startups in San Leandro. About a dozen years ago, a developer took the second floor of what was the Westgate Shopping Center and really being used as storage and warehousing. And it was in a former Chrysler plant. So it's a 300,000 square foot large building and with multiple spaces. And they took it and began to remodel for small startup entrepreneurs and things like that. And over the years, it has really grown and matured and become more sophisticated. And at this point, it functions as an informal incubator. As I mentioned with Coreshell, they offer flexible leases. They offer a tenant build-out assistance. They offer lab bench rental, a number of different things, and are committed to designed around the needs of a changing startup, of a growing company, and that really is their business model. And dozens of hundreds of companies have come out of there, from food technology to hardware to drones to 3D printing. And as we see, as Coreshell did, they're able to take an additional space. And then over time, the owners, B3, they continued to find such success in San Leandro. They bought 2 additional 200,000 square foot buildings to the south of the center. That's now a 3-building campus. And that is where these companies are able to expand. And then this company as well, B3, has also bought the Bayfair Mall, which now also offers research and development space on the interiors. They continue to bet and find success on San Leandro because of these benefits that the mayor discussed, because of us being, as they would call, the missing middle, the great location, the good pricing, the access to workforce, and in being able to have that access to staff in the city.
And Mayor, from your perspective, how does that partnership and what they offer help San Leandro stand out to attract those businesses compared to its neighboring cities that might not have that?
I'd say one of the most important things is that word partnership, because what we have found is that when we work collaboratively with our developers and with our property owners, that they actually advocate for the city effectively. There are many advantages to the city that businesses find in setting up shop in San Leandro. But what we need is their support as our partners in that endeavor. And we have found that partnership is key to the success of the economic development strategy.
That's what a lot of cities don't have, is the investment of the private capital, right? Goes into it, and that partnership that will help drive that building development. You could rezone everything to a perfect thing and even fast track your permits, which not a lot of cities in the Bay Area do, but you need that private capital. Somebody has to invest in building it and help also want to attract those businesses. I like hearing you talk about that partnership. You talked a little bit about the Bayfair Mall and the recent B3 expansion there. Retail's dying. That mall has been on the verge of being dead as a retail center for a while. Mayor, maybe you could go first. See how you envision that space changing, because that's changed the economics of the city too.
Bayfair has a really rich history. Originally, or going back in time at least, it was a speedway. Now it's the B3 folks have taken the opportunity to rebrand, and they're using the expression speedway at Bayfair. The thing so powerful about that is that by associating quick movement with innovation, I think they're really bringing to the forefront the vision for that area, which is to not only have housing built out there, not only have some retail on the front side, but really to bring more innovative companies into that space. We are seeing their success blossoming as they attract technology companies, food tech in particular. They've attracted drone companies, they've attracted robotics companies. And by bringing in and building that ecosystem, they are demonstrating to other companies the viability of a mall space being transformed into a research park. And that is powerful.
I remember taking a tour which Katie led on for East Bay EDA, that we got to see a large-scale department store totally vacant. And we heard the company talk about how you could transform that space into, I thought, a skateboard park. He was thinking more like drone testing and other things. But Katie, do you want to expand from your perspective?
Along themes that we've discussed, we tried to be flexible and responsive to the market. And the Bayfair TOD plan has been in the works. Planning there began in 2018. And it's been through it's had several updates and things like that to really make sure that we remain in line or open to the real investment, the real possibilities. And for instance, Bayfair Mall, looking at how it can be redeveloped or reused. And when the space became available with the former department store, the landlords looked at that as an opportunity. And really, that's the best case, to take that as an opportunity and to find that to have available space, which is such a premium in the Bay Area. And not only can Bayfair be research and development, can it be retail, it can be education. We've had an expansion of Carrington College, San Joaquin Valley College offering services there. It can offer other services. We're going to have Asian Health bringing a PACE, a senior care center there. And we hope as well to recruit experiential uses for fun and gathering. And a common real estate problem is not enough parking, not enough space, not enough power. And Bayfair has all of that available. It will provide opportunities.
This is interesting because you're talking about three big centers that have gone from industrial or retail, particularly in the mall, to more businesses or manufacturing of different types. But without the retail, that impacts the city's bottom line without the retail tax. It's a big portion of income for every city's. But you're not looking at it as a loss. You're looking at it as a gain for the city. Do you want to talk a little bit more about how that's impacting the city in a good way or a bad way?
Just from an economic perspective, I think it's important to recognize that there's multiple ways in which you can get the revenue that you need to sustain financially a city. One way is directly through sales tax. We are obviously interested in maintaining the ability for residents to buy things at Bayfair Mall. But more importantly, when folks come to our city to work, they are there that they can then maybe have some lunch. And maybe after work, they can go and have a drink in one of our restaurants. And by having more folks working in the city of San Leandro, we're able to tap into those secondary sources, that it doesn't just have to be a consumer purchase from someone that comes into our city to purchase, but rather someone that's working here who can spend some of the money that they've made here. Thinking more broadly, more holistically is important when we think about how to make sure that we're thinking about this problem correctly. And what we are seeing, at least, is that we are finding that right balance.
For years in planning, we've talked about right-sizing retail. I think it's not about the square footage of retail. It's about the volume of sales. It's about activity. And we know that's what department stores are finding. They're all going for smaller format. Bigger is not necessarily better for them. Continuing as well, we're finding in a neighboring shopping center to Bayfair Mall, what it takes to bring the new retail, the quality retail, is to upgrade or remodel these spaces. And then they are bringing premium rents. And it's not necessarily more square footage, it's improving the square footage that we have.
There's a lot to be said about that, because we've seen significant investment in San Leandro in the improvement of the retail experience. And what we see is in those improved retail spaces, the occupancy rate is quite high, very low vacancies.
Yes, investments pay off. Yeah, and overall, we have very low vacancy in retail in San Leandro, under 5% at this point. And because of the location, we're a net generator of sales tax. We capture a lot of sales tax from surrounding areas. And we always want to maintain a balance and continue to support retail, but as well continue to bring in new exciting retail. And we've developed a retail actions plan. And through that, we have identified a number of steps, and several of them relate to we've identified specific target retailers who are looking to expand in the market, are a good fit for San Leandro, and ways to recruit them, as well as, though, the other part is the investment of the properties, which is harder, but working to encourage this of property owners, help to introduce new investors to the area, and showing the success stories that we're seeing in some of these ones where the investments are really paying off.
That's key, especially I know you talked about the investment into some of those older shopping centers. Maybe it's how do you work with the owners and the stores to upgrade them, to change that image and vibe within the city. How does all of this strategy play into the downtown San Leandro, cleaning it up, making it stronger, attracting businesses in a walkable community? I know that's one of your goals.
Certainly, when we think about downtown San Leandro, we think very much about getting people to downtown. Part of this strategy involves building out housing in downtown, taking spaces that were empty spaces and literally knocking them to the ground and starting over. You gotta be bold to show that progress is happening and it's visible. We've had success stories with Central Callan as an example. Built a 200-unit complex in downtown San Leandro that is supporting the Sprouts Farmers Marketplace that just opened. We have a Phil's Coffee will be opening downtown. We want San Leandro to be a walkable, accessible, family-friendly area in our downtown. We've made investments through time in the downtown, including things like plazas, parking garages, to make sure that when people come downtown, they have the opportunity to easily come, find a place to park, and then access the different businesses there. Last thought that I'll leave you is that the San Leandro Downtown Benefit District, Community Benefit District, has focused very much on keeping the space clean, friendly, family friendly, and hosting events. We've had an event almost every single month. And coming in 2026, there will be even more events in downtown San Leandro on the second Fridays of the month, and also other ancillary events like the Cherry Festival. It's a wonderful night. That these are in addition to the many events that are happening. It's that investment not only by the city, but also by the local businesses. And we do take, by the way, pride in our art in San Leandro and the investment that we're making there. I'll just make a little plug for the art downtown. I don't know if you've seen at the intersection of East 14th and Davis Street, there's a beautiful planter box that reflects the investment made by the city of San Leandro in an arts grant. That's all now covered in beautiful tile. We have augmented reality murals that have been added to downtown. And there's this conscious effort to make sure that there's art, both physical art, but also performance art in our city.
And we find our downtown is an area where, and we continue to support and reinforce, as the mayor said, but it's an area where people want to come and eat and gather and enjoy themselves. Even through COVID, it remained busy. Since that time, we've seen lots of fun retail concepts come to downtown, whether it's a new hot smack burger, there's smash burgers, there's new concepts, new services, these studios. There are Fieldworks Brewery has a large facility and gathering place that is popular, not only for adults, but for families. And every time new concepts come, the community snaps them up and enjoys them. And they're hungry for more. And in addition, we have a huge richness of food options in San Leandro, really huge, really authentic, diverse businesses that are really becoming the spots to be, not in downtown, even whether it's pulled Asian noodles and dumplings and special things that are happening maybe one other place in the Bay Area. And really, this is a place where we're seeing people invest in restaurants and grow in a way that supports families, that supports not just corporate organizations. We have so much rich, independent food offerings here.
I guess one thing that I'll add to that in particular with respect to food offerings is that in the city of San Leandro, the market has been quite responsive to the changing ethnic demographic. Our largest group is the Asian population in the city of San Leandro. We've seen that through things like presence now of 85 Degree Bakery. You've seen a number of new and innovative Asian food restaurants. Boba has taken over downtown San Leandro in various locations. That change reflects the market response to what we're seeing in the city, and the disposable income is a very important component of that, to making sure that there's energy and activity in downtown and throughout the city.
Boba tea is in everywhere now. There's a trend for every ethnic group to go get boba tea and everything there. I like that. I want to come back to the art, because it was actually just talking to Assembly member Lori Wilson in Solano, and she was saying one of the things she wants to be remembered the most for is when she was with the city of Sassoon, she was talking about creating an art fund and making every new development have public art. But a lot of people, when you use city money, when you require developers to do that versus other things, they question it. You're looking at it as the positive, which I like in it. Can you just elaborate your vision and the message you want to portray in that?
I think it's very clear that art enlivens the soul. It brings energy to a community, not only visually through physical art, but also through performed art. The city has long had a tradition in its schools of investing in music and the arts, in supporting community theater. In San Leandro, we've supported even a historic theater, the Ball Theater in the city of San Leandro. The vision is to continue to do that. With respect to physical art, one of the things that council has been discussing and that we expect to be addressing soon is, for new development, some dedicated set aside money specifically for art. We've had those conversations informally with different businesses. Obviously, one of the iconic pieces in the city of San Leandro is Truth is Beauty, an art piece that not only conveys a social message, but has now become an image of the city that you see on postcards and the like. I think that being mindful of the role that art can play, not only culturally, but also in helping to define the city, it is paramount that we continue to focus on this.
We've talked a lot about new businesses coming in. San Leandro, like a lot of cities, has a lot of mom and pop businesses, family businesses that have been around for a while. How do you help them keep up with these changing times? How do you continue to be a resource for them to make sure they're happy, they stay in the city, they're successful?
We work to maintain a relationship, maintain that support. And for small businesses, we focus on connecting them with services. And some recent successes we've had in that area, we work with the Small Business Development Center, the East Bay SBDC, and have rolled out free advising once a month at the San Leandro Chamber and have seen great response there. In businesses, it's a way to start to get them into the resource program. And then from there, we see them more likely to utilize additional SBDC programs. It's going through marketing, it's going through restaurant training and things like that from that initial connection. We've seen success with that. We also partnered with the Renaissance Center for Entrepreneurship, recently completed an intensive childcare business workshop and training. And we just had a graduation for that. Each entrepreneur came with her family and they were so excited and so proud to be able to think about taking a passion or a love and thinking about it proactively as a business and how they can help to bring a legacy for their family. And for larger businesses, from an operational standpoint, we like to say we help businesses get things done. We work with them through the permit process. We've been making a number of improvements to our permit process. We have more to come. And so we partner with them in that way. Finally, we do as well support physical improvements. We have a facade incentive program. We also have rolled out some smaller programs in response to what we're seeing in the market and really coming out of the really large amount of work we did with small businesses during COVID and finding out what do they really need. We've been able to use those connections and that knowledge after COVID to provide these quick infusion to maybe upgrade their security, to upgrade their facade and things like that.
That's one of the things when you talk about all those programs that's exciting about San Leandro and just shows how important the city right now is focused on economic development, because it's not just going after the big fish like other cities. It's attracting the big fish, helping the small businesses thrive and survive and grow within the city. Mayor, you want to add anything?
Talk about economic development. You really do talk about the ecosystem. It is not just having one dominant type of business, but having a diversity of businesses. It's about recognizing that everybody in the ecosystem has a role. And I think that the economic development team has done a really good job of supporting businesses at each strata, each size, and across a spectrum of business types. That's what yields a robust economy for the city.
I want to come back to something you had mentioned, Mayor, earlier, is in the downtown area, part of your walkable and attract new businesses to downtown is to expand on housing.
Yes.
States really coming down on some cities to force their hand to start helping create permitting, streamline new zoning. But you already had that vision, because the state coming with a stick is good, but you're actually embracing this before that or as part of that and to attract them. And that matters, because if you're a small business, if you're a coffee shop and you want to go in somewhere, you got to have enough foot traffic, literally and figuratively, to come in. Anything else you could talk about with the housing boom here?
I think that it's important to recognize that the city of San Leandro is a pro-housing city. And by that, I don't just mean it as a conceptual thing. Guess what? We're pro-housing. We are officially designated by the state of California as a pro-housing city. We were among the top 10% of all cities in terms of our pro-housing score. We have been very purposeful in bringing housing development into San Leandro at all income levels. We have obviously ensured that hundreds of housing units have been built in the last few years, but more importantly, we've entitled thousands of units. The opportunity is not just there in terms of entitlements. We support the housing. We're designated by the state. And as a result of that designation, we are receiving money from the state of California, specifically because of our designation. We embrace the construction of housing. We know that housing is key for ongoing economic development, and we view it as part of an integrated process to promote the economy.
As the mayor said, we are able to really honestly tell housing developers that the entitlement process, that the approval process is possible here. We have a great track record in approving housing, and we're really proud of that. And we're also proud of ways that we have been open and flexible to bring that housing. One of the affordable housing projects was a pretty early modular housing model. We have seen as well different conversion of existing housing to affordable housing or to mixed income housing. And we have looked at another housing project that originally was looking at, okay, how do you make sure you are able to get that? We think about how making sure that it's actually feasible financially to build this housing. And we have Central Callan, which is a true mixed use project. But with that, maybe not everything around it needs to be mixed use. Maybe we think of mixed use within the district, and the housing project across the street is approved as all residential. And thinking about going once again from our ideals to reality and try to help make it really happen.
I just want to put a fine point on that last point, that by being realistic, not just being pie in the sky, we are very realistic about what needs to happen to make sure that the economics of all these projects work. And by being focused on the economics, we're getting some great outcomes.
I want to pull on that thread about the mixed use retail space, because I've heard from a lot of cities, they are requiring builders to do retail on the ground floor, but then they're vacant. And then so are the apartments right above the restaurant, because as good as things are, it does create issues. What are your thoughts on how to balance that in a way that attracts businesses, that makes the developers happy who want to just build apartments or build condos or whatnot?
I think over the past dozen or so years, and particularly after COVID, I think going back to what I said about right-sizing retail, I think you can think about that in downtown as well. And without the foot traffic and the density, the retail is not supported in any case. And really, you need more residential than retail to make sure that retail can happen. We also do have a good amount of existing retail in downtown, and helping to double down and support that retail, I think, can be successful. And that, I think, is our more modern view, really post-COVID, and really reflecting the realities of retail, it needing to be experiential, it really being more service-oriented, more food-oriented. We've been adapted over time.
If you like this episode and want to hear more, hit subscribe, follow me on LinkedIn.
Mayor, with being such a pro-housing community, what would you say to constituents or to other city elected officials in the Bay Area who are hesitant to embrace new housing? They've only done the minimum the state's required in recent years. What would your message be to them about the benefits of this for their economy, but also for California and the Bay Area?
That question can be answered at several levels. Let's start at the highest level. I think that we all have a social responsibility to build more housing within our cities. The state needs more housing, period, full stop. We as individual cities have that social responsibility to the community to make sure that we're building more housing. With respect to the benefits of the additional housing, we know that retail benefits through demand. Who offers that demand? It's residents offer that demand, making sure that we've got the housing that then brings the people who can support the businesses. That connection is paramount. And in the end, we need to recognize, not only in the city of San Leandro, but in other cities, that that's how it works. And we can't be driving everywhere to all corners, driving 20 miles to have a meal. We want to be able to be more efficient with our time. People find time more precious. They want those experiences. They don't want to have to sacrifice as much. By bringing people closer to those experiences, it's net positive, not only for your individual cities, our city, but also it's good for the environment.
Yeah, that was well answered. I want to ask about resiliency centers. That's something the city has focused a little bit on. First, for the audience, can you define what is a resiliency center and its goal, and then talk about why you're prioritizing those?
There are many different definitions of resiliency centers. I sit on another board of directors where there's big discussion about what is the right definition for resiliency centers. Let me talk a little bit about how we're viewing it here right now. This is specifically with respect to community resilience. We recognize that there are times, perhaps in times of calamity, where we will not have enough resources as a city to immediately meet people's needs. And it's important that the community have multiple locations where community members can support community members until they can get the help that's available from the city as a whole. We've done a really good job of starting with the idea of a resilience center, resilience hub, and expanding. I believe we're over a dozen now, on our way marching to 20. I think the latest number I heard might have even been 19. But we are definitely moving in a direction where we recognize that we need to work with residents to create organizational structure that will help them support and help themselves until the city and other government agencies can provide that support in case of an emergency. But what's even more powerful than that is as neighbors get to know neighbors and meet each other, the community connections that are being built are tightening that neighborhood connection. And that's really, when people know their neighbors, it makes the city so much more enjoyable. And it's not just doors closing at the end of the workday. It really is neighbors knowing their neighbors. And we are particularly excited about that intangible benefit that will help us in the long run.
Do you want to add anything?
And I would say, thinking about how that community resilience can help a local economy, and thinking back through some of the recent disasters or challenges we've been through, whether it's COVID or flooding. And since we're such an older community, we have many instances where residents are very close to industrial or close to retail. And having those community relationships, having the community looking out in their area is helpful. And as well, through the times that we've been through, we have built improved communication with our businesses, that we can reach them quickly, so that we can share emergency messages, so that we can keep them connected. And we know, for instance, businesses that may be adjacent to areas that may, in rare instances, be subject to flooding. And really, I think keeping them connected, keeping us connected, helps them to minimize their losses, helps them to feel the confidence if there are damages to reinvest, to know that that the city is there as a partner to help make sure that things are better, that we move from each challenge and learn and are better.
Hopefully then they all have toilet paper, because I think that was one of the biggest problems of COVID, was the great toilet paper scare of 2020. Okay. We've been talking about economic development. Here's your open-ended question. What are other priorities for you in the city beyond economic development that either one of you want to share?
I'll say the city council has laid out some very clear priorities. I think that if you think about government as a whole, the core function of government is to improve the quality of life of residents. And so that is explicitly a council priority, but I describe it really as a mission statement. to really make life better for our residents. And we can do that in lots of different ways. One way that we do that as a council priority is public safety and ensuring that there's adequate resources and that we're being very mindful about making sure that folks feel safe at all times and being responsive to, as those needs evolve, ourselves responding to those needs. We recognize the importance of addressing housing and homelessness concerns. Our focus, for instance, on becoming a pro-housing city and really driving that perspective and that brand, that was important to a council priority. Infrastructure. We recognize the importance for economic development of having sound infrastructure, whether it be in the fiber that's relied upon for communication, whether it's the roads that are being driven, or any other element of infrastructure, water quality, wastewater, stormwater. All of those pieces go to creating an environment where business can thrive, and we need to make sure that we've got top-notch infrastructure. And the council recognizes it. To me, the most important thing out of all of this is that the council is focused, it has targeted priorities, and it's budgeting specifically against those priorities instead of just being willy-nilly floating in the wind.
That's good to hear. Last question. If you envision San Leandro in 20 years and all of these plans go forward perfectly, or close to it, where do you see San Leandro being? What do you want to look back on your careers in public service and be proud of what this city's become? Katie, do you want to go first with that one?
I would say I, in 20 years, would like to see San Leandro continuing to prosper, continuing to grow, to see companies that we've supported today in growth tomorrow. And even just last night, we had a company who spoke about they were getting a large business award last night. And he said that he remembers when he brought the company 25 years ago with 5 people. And today he's getting a large business award. And that's what we want. That's what we want them to remain, grow, prosper. We want to see new housing. We want to see new retail. We want to see in our target areas around the Bayfair BART station, around the downtown BART station, bold and transformational development that has been proposed or approved. We want to see developers take that and make that investment, take that risk, and to bring that to fruition, because we, as we see with everything that does come to market, we think that it will get a positive response. And finally, we want people to know the San Leandro story. We want to have a clear brand for people to think, this is what I think when I think San Leandro, and they're a great place to do business and to live.
Mayor, other than promoting Katie several times in the next 10 to 20 years, how do you want to build on what she said? What do you see San Leandro being?
For San Leandro in particular, I think that 20 years from now, you will see substantially more housing. I think you will see a ever more walkable and bikeable city. You will see continued evolution of the types of businesses that we attract, with a greater focus on advanced manufacturing and higher tech leading edge sorts of services. I think that the market will continue to respond to the amazing cultural diversity that we have in our city, and that you will see more and more businesses meeting folks where they are. We're already at a great place, but I think with augmented reality, and to be very direct, artificial intelligence emerging, I think it's very hard for us to imagine the full set of services that city government will be able to provide and support through the business community. And the last thought that I'll leave you with is this: my big hope and dream is that we fully recognize how business and the city can work most effectively together, so that when people think of the city of San Leandro, they fully embrace this idea that San Leandro is open for business.
Great. Mayor Juan Gonzalez and Economic Development Manager Katie Bowman, thank you both for being here today with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.